All right, today we're going to do chapter 11 of Sparrowhawk Red. And if you remember at the end of chapter 10, Ricky had noticed a car, it had US license plates, and had a man inside who was taking a picture of him. So what could that be about? Ricky swallowed at the lump in his throat. He recognized the thin DEA agent, one of the three who had visited the house. What was the man doing here? Heart pounding, Ricky kept walking. Nobody knew he was after the plane. How could they? He quit kicking the can and avoided the agent's stare. It seemed unlikely that anyone would recognize him. He hadn't recognized himself in the store window. But what if they did? Just in case, he decided to play it safe. After dropping over the next rise, he cut from the road out to a dry river bottom nearby. The shoulder-deep arroyo angled in the direction of the Camacho Ranch. If the agent followed, he would have to come on foot. The southern sky grew darker as lightning flashed and crackled. Steaming curtains of rain hung from the distant clouds. Someone was getting a good chubasco, Ricky thought. He kept hiking the arroyo, staying out of sight until the riverbed curved to the north. At that point, he considered crawling up the bank to be sure he was still headed toward Rancho Camacho. He had to keep heading westward. Although the sun burned brightly overhead, thunder kept rumbling and echoing in the distance. A gravelly whisper touched the air. The sound grew louder, swiftly becoming a dull roar. Ricky paused in mid-stride. He looked back up the arroyo and froze. A 3-foot wall of water gushed down the ravine directly at him, thundering like a stampede. "The chubasco!" he gasped. The storm on the horizon had caused a flash flood here on dry ground. Ricky knew this could happen, but he hadn't considered it. He had been daydreaming about getting the plane. Gravel shifted under the tumbling wall of water and sent out a grinding hiss. Tangles of shrub churned over and over in the tidal wave, like vegetables in a blender. The water seemed mad. Ricky raced toward the gravel edge of the arroyo and clawed his way up the dirt bank. Feet slipping, he lunged up and grabbed onto a gnarled bush. The water crashed past, swirling around his legs, splashing, threatening to suck him off the bank. Ricky hung on. Grunting and kicking, he pulled himself over the edge. The churning water splashed at him as he lay trembling. The torrent raged past, spitting sharp spray high into the air. Ricky dared not move. He half expected the wall of water to come over the bank and chase him. Instead, it boiled out of sight down the ravine, followed by a river of frothy water. The strong current flowed past for several minutes, then swirled lower, foaming as it retreated. To the south, the sky grew lighter and the curtains of rain faded. Ricky watched and waited. Phew! At last he crawled to his feet, trembling. Nothing hurt. His pants were soaked, but luckily he had not lost his sandals. Soledad's rubber thongs had held. Shallow blankets of bubbling murk covered the gully floor, leaving little trace of the chubasco. Ricky stumbled to the highway. At first he turned toward Mariposa, but then he stopped. Why should he return? He wasn't hurt. And now the weather looked better. Drawing in a deep breath, he headed back toward the drug compound. Ahead, a red clay side road branched off. Ricky looked around but could not spot the agent's car. Walking on the road made him a sitting duck, but memories of the chubasco scared him worse. A small hand-painted sign was posted in the ground at the junction. It read, Rancho Camacho. The sign made this look like an ordinary rundown ranch. Exactly what the drug dealers wanted, Ricky thought. He smiled. The alley fight, Soledad, the chubasco, everything had slowed him down, but now he was here. This was it. The narrow rutted driveway snaked off among low hills and ravines like a curling ribbon. Red-barked manzanita lined both sides. Walking was easy, but the sandals flopped and chafed Ricky's feet. He'd have given anything for some good thick socks and a pair of tennis shoes. The road made a sharp bend. Rounding the corner, Ricky stopped and crouched. Within a stone's throw, he spotted an armed guard. The huge mule of a man cradled a machine gun loosely in one arm. His extra cartridges bristled in a loop around his broad belly. He leaned on a metal gate that barricaded the road. A tall fence with rolled barbed wire on top stretched away in both directions. The ranch looked like a prison. Ricky ducked into the underbrush. Slowly he inched forward. Beyond the fence lay a large, shallow valley and a compound with nearly a dozen buildings. The guard had full view of everything. It would be impossible to sneak in during daylight. Beyond the buildings stretched a small airstrip, cluttered with a surprising number of aircraft. 3 Bell helicopters, looking like dragonflies, surrounded a large storage shed. Halfway down the runway, a silver split-tailed Beechcraft glinted in the sun. Nearby was parked a newer twin-engine Piper. It looked like a Mohave or a Mirage. Out alone in a field sat a weathered old DC-3, tethered and abandoned, tires flat. And then Ricky spotted it. All he could see was the nose, cowling, and prop of a small plane, parked mostly inside the shed, but the dull orange and white paint was unmistakable. Ricky trembled with giddy excitement. Now he had to get close to the plane, start it, and fly home. But first he would have to figure a way past the front gate. If he tried to crawl over the tall fence and rolled barbed wire, it would have to be at night. That meant hiding inside the drug compound until daybreak when he could see to take off. Ricky made up his mind. He crawled back over to the road, swallowed hard, and stood up. In plain view, he walked forward. Yikes. The guard stiffened when he saw the visitor. "Take curious?" he challenged in a deep, rumbling voice. His face looked mean as he demanded to know what Ricky wanted. "I'm here to see if you need help," Ricky called back in Spanish from several hundred feet away. "I can take care of cows and sheep. Before Ricky had finished speaking, the guard raised his machine gun. A loud burst of shots ripped the air, and flames leaped from the short barrel. Ricky jumped back, tripped, and fell hard. Gravel exploded as bullets scraped the food. The guard waved the gun menacingly. "Next time you come here," he rumbled in Spanish, "I'll kill you." Oh my, huge problems. How is he going to get into the ranch? All right, I'll see you guys for chapter 12.